And meanwhile, does anybody want to go to AEW? Regardless of whether the WWE's interested in them or not, if you go to AEW and within 6 months end up in a iron lung or, paralyzed or at a body cast or with artificial body parts. I've never seen anything like this. And poor Julia Hart trended on Twitter this morning for whatever she was thinking last night. And I get, for people who haven't seen this.
When you say thinking, whatever she was talked into, I think is probably more.
Well, I'm sure she was all on board with it. I'm sure that she was, because, again, these are she's a teenager, if she didn't just turn 20. These are young kids. They're on national TV. It's been their dream to do this. I understand the mindset. But I never allowed myself to be thrown off something head first to a concrete floor. I dropped off the scaffold. Same concept, a little bit different risk factor. I stuck my chin out and let Bill Watts slap me full out because I knew it was going to make money. But that was a calculated risk. I saw sparkly things for quite some time, but I've lived afterwards. Didn't have to have surgery. They're not having to be talked into this stuff. They're doing it willingly. They need to be talked out of it. And I mean, just if what she had tried to do went right, it was stupid. And I'm not saying she was stupid. I'm saying it was stupid for that to be allowed for any producer, or if Tony wants to claim he's the booker, then the responsibility rests on him. If you didn't see it, folks, Julia Hart has now joined the House of Black. And they were doing a missed spot where the guy misted another guy in the ring.
Did you see who it was?
Was it little Buddy, or who was it?
It was the Great Muta misting Buddy Murphy.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, because Muta showed up. Because, again, God damn it. Brian, did they sell out the Grand Slam in New York at Arthur Ashe Stadium? Did they sell out all the tickets that were available?
They did not this year, no.
They did not.
But they made more money. It was a higher gate.
Well, yeah, they raised the ticket prices. So I'm sure all the people are like, oh, great, thank you. Point I'm making is they had tickets available. The Great Muta in New York came out as a surprise, unadvertised, and did a missed spot. You're telling me they couldn't have advertised the Great Muta will be for... They didn't have to say what he was going to do. But because Tony is a 1990s WCW mark.
ECW mark.
Well, he's every kind of 90s mark. But they brought out the Great Muta as a surprise to do a missed spot with the House of Black on their B show. And I guess Sting is going over for his retirement ceremony or whatever. That's great for the folks in Japan. But meanwhile, instead of facilitating some ticket sales in Japan for another company, Tony, you could have sold some for yourself on it. But nevertheless, where we were going with Julia. So Muta missed Buddy Murphy. Buddy Murphy staggers backwards, and Julia's on the apron. And Buddy bumps into Julia. And Julia is supposed to get knocked off the apron and go through a table on the floor to the floor. Which, as I mentioned, is stupid enough. There's no reason for that. There was no reason for this 120-pound, 20-year-old girl to go through a fucking table to a concrete floor as a spot on the B show. The mist was enough. We got to see Muta do the mist. But she didn't do that spot anyway. What she did was she leaped backwards like the Nestea plunge bump that Cactus Jack took against Mil Mascaras in Corpus Christi at that Clash of Champions and missed the table. I don't know what kind of tables they're using these days because her little tiny ass hit the far edge of the table and broke a chunk out of it. but her entire body, including the back of her fucking head, went straight past the table, flat back on the concrete floor. And if you slow-mo this, you will realize that the back of her head missed the iron or steel guard railing by maybe a couple of inches. And that at that velocity, going at that speed, at that angle, if the back of her head had hit the guardrail, it would have snapped her neck and she'd have died on the spot. I'm surprised that she doesn't have a concussion. I'm surprised that she actually...
Well, we don't know that she doesn't have a concussion, to be fair.
Well, she's tweeted that she's okay.
Oh,
whatever that means. She did tweet that this morning. I'm okay. Well, does okay mean you're living, but you can no longer see? I mean, I don't know what to... But this
it was taped Wednesday, though.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, because they didn't say anything so far because they didn't want to ruin the surprise of what was going to happen. But when everybody saw it and she trended like, is Julia Hart still alive, she had to say something. The point is, it's irresponsible. It shouldn't be you should have to talk people into anything in wrestling, but it shouldn't be that you have to talk them out of it either. They ought to know. They ought to be smarter. They ought to be trained better. There ought to be someone in charge. Instead of the guys going, oh, yeah, I know how you feel. I want to get over on TV too, and I've done a bunch of crazy shit. They ought to be saying, I know how you feel, and that's why I'm going to stop you because it's not worth it, and you're already over, and you look great, and we'll find something else for you to do, but there's no reason for you to fall off the apron through a table to a concrete floor, especially when... And here's another thing. All these goddamn experienced garbage match havers that they probably got around there, she's flying backwards at a table set crossways. Where is the back of your head supposed to go? At least if they'd have set the table long ways and she goes straight backwards, the back of her head... If she takes a bump and tucks her head, the back of her head's going to go on the table instead of over the table and onto the floor and fold her up like a jackknife. But it's just stupid regardless. So we're glad she's all right. And it ain't going to last forever. They're going to have somebody paralyzed on live television doing this stupid, needless shit. And then how's that going to affect their fucking contract renewal?